Hello, I'm Dane. Welcome to another episode of Dax Jutsu. So, in this episode, I will teach you how to show the last X months in Power BI. So, display muna natin kung ano yung default na ginagawa ng slicers natin. Yeah, but before that, let me show you my model. So, I have a date. I have a sample data, which is just very random data generated using DAX, and I have a column for category or table rather. And then geo, of course, the date and a disconnected date table. And these are the relationships. So geo category to category, and dates to date in the data table. And I have three measures. So meron akong average revenue, which is total revenue over total transactions, and total revenue and total transactions. So let's go back to the visualization and let me add total revenue. And then let's add the month and year. And let's copy that and we'll create another one for just the dates. Change that to line chart. And ipisa natin yung line chart na. Okay. So yung goal natin ngayon is if we click or select a date, palitan natin siya. Sa slicer natin, if we select month and year, let's change that to drop down. Okay. So if we select, for example, April 2024, we should be seeing April 2024 and then the 5 months before that. So that's from November, December, January, Feb, and March after April. So we what we want to see is the last 6 months or kung ano man yung last X months na gusto natin ipakita. So currently, the way it works in Power BI is that if a filter is coming from a related table or from the same table itself, same table as the fact table natin is, makikita natin is kung ano lang sinelect natin sa slicer. So although we can write a DAX to, or we can write a measure to alter the filter context, pero yung visible natin na rows is yung whatever na sinelect natin sa slicer. So what do we do? So gumawa ako ng disconnected date slicer, which is just a duplicate of a dates table. So yan, same information as a dates table. Yeah, so same information as the original dates table. And since this is a disconnected date, pag nilagay natin siya dito, yung one of the columns in a visual or in a slicer, ang mangyayari is walang mangyayari because it's not related to the fact table. So, ganyan. But we can create a measure that can reference or that can reference the dates in the disconnected tables. So, gawa tayo ng ganyang measure. Let's say value or total revenue last 6 months. So yung definition ng last 6 months natin is kung ano yung max date na selected natin. We go back as far as 6 months before that plus 1 day. Kasi yung 6 months before is nasa prior 6 months siya. So let's create a variable for the max selected date, which is the max date in disconnected date. So whatever is the selected max date. For example, if we select April 2024, so naturally, yung max date dun sa table, yun yung makikita natin, which is April 30, 2024. So that's our max selected date. Or let's change this to end date na lang. End date. So ito yung end date natin. And then we create another variable for the start date. And for the start date, we reference end date and date. And we go back 6 months prior. And then plus one. So e-date, we use that to go back or to add months to the current date, which is ang max date natin ngayon is April, no, it's October 31. So return muna natin yung variable para makita natin kung anong result. So end date. So October 31. Now if we change this to March, then we'll see March 31. And take note yung max natin is whatever is the max date if we select, for example, a month here. Select natin, hmm, dito na lang tayo, 22,403. So yung max date natin is March 31. Now, if, for example, yung max date sa calendar mo is March 30, then that will be the max date. That's why you need to use a proper dates table that has a complete set of dates when it comes to time intelligence calculations, whether you use time intelligence functions or not. Okay, so balikan natin yung measure kanina. At wait. Total revenue last 6 months. Okay. So anong itsura nitong start date natin? Start date is, so end date natin is March 31, 2024, and we go back 6 months before that, and we add plus one, that would be 10/1, 2023, or October 1, 2023. So we now have our start dates and start and end dates. So gawa tayo ng calculation. So calculate, and we want to apply this to our total revenue. And then we use keep filters. Dates, dates table. We want it to be greater than or equal to our start date and less than or equal to our end date. So duplicate natin to. Tanggalin ko na lang to kasi we don't need that. And then palitan natin ng total revenue last 6 months. So same here. Let's see. So We put this in a table, ano makikita natin. So ito yung breakdown and as you can see, yung last 6 months lang pinapakita. So if we go to, let's reverse this, reverse descending. Hindi ko pa siya pala nasusort. So I have to sort this, sort by, it's weird. It should be sorted properly. Sorted naman pala. So if I go to April, dapat yung simula na month natin is November. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. So bakit itong April may kasama tayong October? We have 7 months in here. Let's go back to our date and let's select April. Okay. It's because April ends in April 30 and we go back 6 months prior, April 30. So ibalik ko 'tong total revenue last 6 months. Ah, tingnan natin yung start date, yung nangyari. Yung start date natin is 10/31/2023 and our end date, tingnan natin yung end date, 4/30. So yung nangyari kasi if we go back to 6 months, yan balikan natin, tingnan natin. Ayan. So, um, end date natin is April 30 and we go back to 6 months before that, what we are getting is October 30 and we add 1, so it's only until, so siyempre yung start date natin is 10/31. So we decide now whether we want our end date to be the end of month or whatever is the max selected date. So we can change this to end of month para makita lang natin yung actual na months na gusto natin makita, which is kung ano yung selected month and we go back 5 months before that and then +1. This is wrong. Kasi iba yung laging mag-10/31 'to. Yung gagawin natin ngayon is instead of max, gawa tayo ng min and then di tayo mag-EO month. So ayan, tinanggal natin yung EO month and then nangyari is nag-iba yung start date natin, naging 10/2/2023. But what we want is, end of month nitong start date. So 0 and then +1. So 11/1 na. And then we need to change our end date to the actual end of month. So yung gagawin na lang natin is gawa tayo ng isa pang variable, end date 2, and we refer to this and then EO month, which is end of month. And if we use 0, that is the end of month of the current date. So, end date to balik ulit natin end date to muna. So, end date to is correct. So, lagay lang natin siya dito. Palitan natin ang variable end date. And now we are seeing just 6 months. So, yung question ngayon is, ngayon what we have is the last 6 months. What if we want the last 7 months, 8 months, and so on? We can create separate measure for that pero medyo manual na nga lang. So, yung gagawin ko is, gagawa ko ng numeric parameter or sometimes it is called what if parameter. So, let's go to modeling and then new parameter and then numeric range. So, last, let's say last 1 month to last 12 months. And increment of 1. Okay. Yeah. Ayan. Now, this feature of Power BI creates a table of numbers parameter. A table of numbers from 1 to 12. So you can actually do this. You can actually create using the formula without going to that. It's just that this feature automatically adds an option to use single select in a numeric slicer. Kasi kung gagawa tayo ng table separately without using that numeric numeric range feature, mangyayari is hindi tayo magkakaroon ng ganitong option, single value. But this, if you're advanced na, pwede itong gawin sa tabular editor. But for the sake of simplicity, we'll be using that feature na lang. So, yan. So, what, for example, gusto natin makita is last 6 months. Gagawin natin is, kopyahin ko yung formula kanina. And I'll create a new one. So, last X months. And ito, I'll refer this to the parameter value. Now, that numeric range table na ginawa ni Power BI kanina, automatically, gumawa siya ng measure na parameter value, which is just the selected parameter value. So, currently, our selected value is 6. So, yung value nitong parameter nito is 6. So, let's add that. So, pareho lang ano. So, gawin nating 7. So, now we have 1 extra value. Okay. So, what if gusto kong i-apply yung ganitong logic to other measures? For example, meron ako ditong average revenue and then total transactions. What if lang? If you want to do it the manual way, you can copy paste this formula, create a new one, and replace the measure being referenced. For example, gagawin ko siyang total transactions. So, magiging total transaction siya. Galing ko 'tong yan. I don't want to go to that route. So, yung gagawin ko is, still I'll be copying this, but I'll be creating a calculation group. So, you go to the model view and then you click on this calculation group icon or button, or you can go to this side, right click, and then create a calculation item. So, O yan, kinopya ko lang. So yung gagawin ko ngayon is, total value last X months or value last X month na lang, ayan. So, pareho lang yung formula, eh, except that instead of referencing a measure, I will use selected measure, which means whatever measure we add to a visual. So, ayan, last X months. So, duplicate this one, then we delete the measures being used, and then this one, and this one as well. So, gagawin natin. So, I'll go to that calculation group and gagawin ko siyang page filter para ma-apply ko sa lahat ng measure na ilalagay ko dito. The value last X months. Unselect muna natin. And then, I'll use total, ganito na lang. Okay, total. Lagay natin si total revenue, total transactions, and then average rev. So, yeah. Palitan ko lang 'tong background nito kasi medyo mahirap identify kung nasaan ang end ng visual natin. Canvas background. Now we can see where our visuals end. Oh, yeah. And then I'll select this value last X months. Now, you can see that the same logic is applied to whatever measure I use in the visuals. And since this is a filter on the page, it is applied to all the visuals in the page. Now, if you want to apply that to just specific visuals, of course, lagay mo lang yung filter doon sa visual mismo. Ito lalagay ko yung total revenue. And then total revenue din dito. Total revenue din dyan. Tatanggalin ko ito because I want to apply the filter to just the visual, selected visual. So group, calculation group, value last X months. Value last X months. So 6, 5, 4, 3. And let's go to March. March, last 4 months, 1, 2, 3, 4. So I hope you've learned something and thank you for staying with me. Have a good one. Bye bye.